47. Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father, my brothers, their flocks and herds, and all that they own have arrived from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen." He took 5 of his brothers and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph's brothers, "What is your occupation?" They said to Pharaoh, "Your servants take care of flocks, just as our ancestors did." Then Pharaoh said to them, "We have come to live," and they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to live as temporary residents in the land. There is no pasture for your servants' flocks, because the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. So now please let your servants live in the land of Goshen." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best region of the land. They may live in the land of Goshen. If you know of any highly capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him before Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How long have you lived?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "All the years of my travel are 130. All the years of my life have been few and painful. The years of my travel are not as long as those of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. When Joseph settled his father and his brothers, he gave them territory in the land of Egypt, in the best region of the land of Ramses, just as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph also provided food for his father, his brothers, and all his father's household, according to the number of their children. But there was no food in all the land, because the famine was severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that could be found in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan as payment for grain they were buying. Then Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's palace. When the money from the land of Egypt and Canaan was used up, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food! Why should we die before your very eyes because our money has run out?" Then Joseph said, "If your money is gone, bring your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for their horses, their livestock, and their flocks and herds and their donkeys. He got them through the year by giving them food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We cannot hide from our Lord that the money is used up, and the livestock and the animals belong to our Lord. Nothing remains before our Lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will become Pharaoh's slaves. Give us seed that we may live and not die. Then the land will not become desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Each of the Egyptians sold his field, for the famine was severe. So the land became Pharaoh's. Joseph made all the people slaves from one end of Egypt's border to the other end of it. But he did not purchase the land of the priest, because the priest had an allotment from Pharaoh, and they ate from their allotment that Pharaoh gave them. This is why they did not sell their land. Joseph said to the people, "Since I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here is seed for you. Cultivate the land. When the crop comes up, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh. The remaining 4/5 will be yours for seed, for your fields, and for you to eat. Include those in your households and your children." They replied, "You have saved our lives. You are showing us favor, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves." So Joseph made it a statute, which is in effect to this day throughout the land of Egypt. 1/5 belongs to Pharaoh. Only the land and the priests did not become Pharaoh's. Israel settled in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they owned land there. They were fruitful and increased rapidly in number. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. The years of Jacob's life were 147 in all. The time for Israel to die approached, and so he called for his son Joseph and said to him, if now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in the burial place." Joseph said, "I will do as you say." Jacob said, "Swear to me that you will do so." So Joseph gave his word. Then Israel bowed down at his head of the bed. It almost sounds like he's going to die there, but he hasn't. He's still got more to do there. Samarel, I'm just going to say that because it's easier to just read that. You're almost at the point where you thought it best if you just delete all the socials, but you know Sam would feel about that. Just wanted to check and see if things are really okay or if you guys have similar thoughts, but too hesitant to say it out. I don't know if you should cancel all of her socials. I mean, let her know what's going on and she can make that decision, but it's harder to start from scratch again than to make some modifications and just eliminate some troublemakers that are there. Yeah, please don't judge everyone the same way. We love Samarella and we keep praying for her. You and your friend and her friend Lena. Yes. Lena. I'm horrible with names. And any information that you can give us is appreciated because it is our only way of knowing what's happening in our life. Other than that, we wouldn't know what to pray for. Again, thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Well said. Well said there, Lucis. Not that I'm surprised, but that's exactly how we feel here. You're not judging her, Lucis. You're scared of her getting into the loop of hatred and conclusion that might make her be so close rather than that's a fair thing. But if right now she's in recovery and not accessing all of that, you know, that's probably best. So I don't know, those of you who know Mama Brick Builds, I just had a post in my Facebook feed this morning that was a subscription-based rental on Legos. So rather than buying Legos and spending lots of money, which, by the way, my Legos are now sitting right here, if you can see, spending a lot of money on Legos that you put them together once and they sit on the shelf, if what you like to do, and this really made sense for her, if she's building on stream, you subscribe to a box a month of Legos. It comes to you. You put the thing together. You follow the instructions, and then you seal it back up and you mail it away after you take it all apart. So you have all the fun, if that's fun for you, of assembling all the Lego and building the project. And for her, streaming it would be great. And then she could spend less money. Instead of I got a new set, she could have a new set very often and do an exchange thing. So she's going to look into it. So, hey, one reason, peace. Thank you, friend. Thank you. I just gave her the info on that so she can try to do that. Yeah, Cold Garden, that sounds cool. Hey, welcome in, Cold Garden. Yeah, I mean, for her specifically, she's, building them on stream. Well, if you have to save up money every time to do that, yeah, don't lose any pieces. Exactly. Don't lose any pieces when you do that. Or break them, as I did with the flowers. I broke 2 of the flowers. So, there's that. For now, you're not letting her know what's going on. And you think it's best for you to help her try to recover than to put all that over her head. Yep, I agree. Zack Attack, morning, and tip of the cap, friend. Tip of the cap. All right, so let's get back into the passage. So Joseph goes to Pharaoh. So in the last chapter, he told his brothers what to do when he was going to introduce them. He's going to bring his father, and he's going to tell him about it. So he picks 5. He doesn't bring all 11 brothers in. He picks 5 of them. I think, just me, every time I see 5, I think Torah. So he is bringing the best representatives of his God to Pharaoh. That's how I read that. And maybe, you know, otherwise, why is he picking 5? And his father and himself make 7, which is the total family in some way. So you see how you can play with things, and it's just like a nuance that doesn't have to be seen, and maybe it's not that, but there is a value, I think, in seeing that. So he goes to Pharaoh and says, hey, my brothers are all here, and they're in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh constantly keeps going, hey, whatever you want to do, wherever you want to put them, we'll give them the best, give them the best, give them the best. So Pharaoh said to his Joseph's brothers, what's your occupation? So they follow along with exactly what he said. Our ancestors were flocks. We have come to live temporary residence. There's no pasture for our flocks. The famine is severe. So now let your servants live in the land of Goshen. So they request Goshen because that's what Joseph has told them to do. Joseph is telling them all of these things. Now, if you go back to the last chapter, he did tell them, you know, hey, you're detestable. You know this. So since you have, you know, facial hair and all that stuff, and sheep and all that, they don't want to be near you. They don't want to be near you. So Goshen is far away, so that's a good place. So Pharaoh's like, hey, your brothers and father, yeah, it's up to you. Settle them wherever you want. Give them the best region. They may live in Goshen. They want Goshen, give them Goshen. You want them in Goshen? Put them in Goshen. What do I care? They're your family. Your family. You are blessing me, man. I don't care what you do. You're wise. You think that's what's best for them. That's what's best for me, too. That's what we have going on here with Pharaoh. And then says, if you know any highly capable men among you, put them in charge of my livestock. Like, hey, if these bros of yours are anything like yours, like my flocks are going to be amazing. I want them. Their ancestors were all herdsmen. They're all shepherds. Like, they need to be in charge of my livestock too. Yep, put them in charge of mine. And then we're going to find out that Joseph actually multiplies the livestock of Pharaoh. Okay, so then he brought in his father after he brings in his brothers, presents them, and Pharaoh has this nice conversation with him. But it's like, how long have you lived, man? I'm only 130. My life is few and painful. I'm not like my ancestors who lived to 200. I'm only 130. I'm just a young whippersnapper. So they then have this, Jacob blesses Pharaoh and goes out of his presence. So there is this blessing. And remember, the promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is that all nations will bless you and you will be a blessing to all nations. That's part of this. What do we have here in the text? The precise meaning of the word translated blessed is difficult in this passage because the context of Jacob blessing is not given. So it's mentioned there's a blessing, but we don't get written what the blessing is. The expression could simply mean that he greeted Pharaoh, but that seems insufficient in this setting. Jacob probably praised Pharaoh, for the verb is used the way for praising God. It is also possible that he pronounced a formal prayer of blessing, asking God to reward Pharaoh for his kindness. That's the direction I'm going with it. That's the direction where I go with it. Yes, young whippersnapper at 130. That is crazy. I know. So I'm going to snooze the ad there and try to finish this chapter first. So he blesses him when he comes into his presence, and then it blesses Pharaoh's when he went out of his presence. So a blessing in the arrival and a blessing in the departure. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers. He gave them territory in the land of Egypt, the best region of the land of Ramses. Okay, here's one of those things where it has really intentionally not mentioned the name of the Pharaoh here. It also really intentionally doesn't name the name of the Pharaoh in the book of Exodus, okay? It's intentionally not mentioned, but the name of the city may not have in the original been the city of Ramses. It is going to be called the city of Ramses at some point. And if you know that's the name of it, it would be like if I'm telling you a story and I happen to update it and say New York, so you know that where it's taking place is in New York City. instead of leaving it as New Amsterdam, because some young people may not know that there was a place called New Amsterdam. And when I tell you New Amsterdam, if you don't know your history and you don't know your geography, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put the updated city in my story, New York, instead of putting the OG city in there that was at the time of the events happening. That may be what's happening here as well. When you see the city of Ramses, we don't need to think, oh, this is connected with the Pharaoh at the time, or in the Exodus story that it's the same. It simply is giving us the geography of it is all that I'm thinking. Yes, Zack Attack, I'm only here to continue my streak. You're going back to bed. Hey, no worries, friend. Get some rest. Get some rest then. Just as Pharaoh commanded, Joseph also provided food for his father, his brothers, and his household according to the number of their children. So Joseph is providing food for the family. It is, here is the best land and you get food. Food is a scarcity, but I'm going to give you food. But there was no food in the land because the famine was severe. So people don't have enough to live on. So now we're going to shift back to the famine. We've had this interruption of the famine with the story of Jacob and the sons and all of that. And now we're going to get back to the famine at hand. So put aside Jacob for a minute. We're going back to Joseph as the wise ruler of Egypt. There's no food in all the land because the famine is severe. The land of Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that could be found in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan as payment for grain they were buying. I don't know how high exorbitant prices are that he is doing, but he is collecting all the money. They run out of money. We don't know how many years this is, but at this point, it's they run out of money. When they run out of money, the Egyptians come to Joseph and say, give us food. Why should we die before your very eyes because our money has run out? So, hey, we're Egyptians. Like, we shouldn't die because of the famine. You are our rulers. You are to care for us. We are your people. Hey, welcome in, Tactical Skillet. Then Joseph said, if you have no money, bring your livestock, and I'll give you food. He already put his brothers in charge of Pharaoh's livestock. Now he's going to multiply Pharaoh's livestock. Give me your livestock. Why would livestock be a valuable thing? Because they're feeding their livestock with any grain that they have to keep their livestock alive. So if they get rid of their livestock, they should better be able to manage the grain that they have. Right? They're not feeding their livestock anymore. They should be able to better manage their grain, and they don't have the outlay of having to feed the livestock. But, so they bought the livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for their horses, their livestock, of their flocks, their herds, and their donkeys. They gave them 1 year. They only were able to manage 1 year off of what they got there. When the year was over, they came to him the next year and said, we can't hide from our Lord that the money is used up and the livestock and the animals belong to our Lord. Like, we got no more livestock and we got no more money. All we have is our bodies and our land. Now, it's interesting. Why would you do these both at the same time? I think they're trying to get the best deal they can. I mean, I'm thinking I'll give you my land. I don't want to keep my life maybe separate, but they're doing it as a package deal. Like, let's just get this over with. We know where this is going. We're going to exchange it. We'll just be your slaves. We'll give you our land. Just give us seed that we may live and not die. Then the land will become desolate. So the biggest thing you don't want is a bunch of land unoccupied, turning to desert, being a wasteland. So we're going to give it all to you. Yeah, bad negotiations. Absolutely bad negotiations. No, I'm not doing office hours again today. That's just every other Monday, Tactical Skillet. Just every other Monday. Papsio, welcome in. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt. Each of the Egyptians sold his field, for the famine was severe, so the land became Pharaoh's. Joseph made all the people slaves from one of Egypt to the other end. But it did not purchase the land of the priest because the priest had an allotment. So we have a reason why the priests don't have to sell. Pharaoh has allotted them food. They serve, so they need to, be around and not worry about those things, so they have provision for them. But what's interesting is it uses the word all here. So all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. He bought all the land. Each of the Egyptians sold. So it uses the word all, and then there's exceptions to it. We know that this did not happen for Jacob and his brothers. because they're in the land of Goshen. And it says from one end to the other, he bought it all, but they're not included. Also, then we know that the priests aren't included. So does that actually then mean all? No, it is the totality language of this is so prominent, it's happening all over the place, that it is as if nobody had any more land and freedom. But if we see later, there are people who are free, so either they earned their freedom back or he didn't buy it all. But it's talking about the disparity or the desperation there. It's widespread. So we use that language of absolutes. Joseph said to the people, since I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here is seed for you. Cultivate the land. When the crops comes in, give 1/5 to Pharaoh, which is what he's used before the famine. The remaining 4/5 will be yours for seed and fields for you to eat, including those in your household and your little children. They replied, you have saved our lives. You are showing us favor, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves. Okay, I guess this is a good strategy on Joseph's part. However, this was the strategy that he used for 7 years of good. They apparently did not know how to manage the 4/5 that they had, because they got into this situation of not storing up enough to last through the years of famine. They had to spend all their money. They had to give up their livestock. They had to give up their land, and they had to give up their lives. And now you're going to do the same thing? Like, these people are going to be in worse situation. Like, they had a whole bunch and they got in this situation. What are they going to do with nothing? I mean, I get it, but, it's just like, this just seems doomed to being even worse at some point. Now, I know the famine will be over at some point, and we've gotten partway through, at least 2, 3, 4 years, or at least halfway through. They only have to manage the other half, and maybe it's less than that. We're not getting actual timestamps along the way. So Joseph made it a statute, which is in effect to this day throughout the land. 1/5 belongs to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priest did not become Pharaoh's. So the land is all Pharaoh's. Pharaoh owns everything. It's all his. So if you work the land, you pay taxes of 20%. That seems like, wow. We think about, giving to God and thinking about a tithe as 10%, but to the government here, it's 20%. It's 20%. Even back then, that's what you're giving. Israel settled in the land of Goshen, and they owned land there. They were fruitful and increased rapidly in number. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So we're done with the famine now, and we're returning to Jacob's family. Jacob's life was 147 in all. The time of Israel to die was approaching. He calls Joseph to him, and he makes him promise him by putting his hand under his thigh. This is the comment, like we want to put the hand on the Bible. This is an expression of putting it under the thigh. Now, the putting under the thigh might be in some ways close to the member that is between the thighs, and therefore cut this off if you don't do it. This is the promise that I'm going to cut you off if you don't do what you say. So that would be part of the connection of the thigh. The thigh is also, could just be metaphorical here, and there's more going on here than just hand on the thigh. So they just farming and making babies. Yeah, exactly. They're just up there being shepherds and making babies, and Jacob's time is approaching, and Joseph comes in to make a promise. Do not bury me in Egypt when I rest with my fathers. Carry me out of Egypt and bury in their burial place. Joseph said, I will do this. So he's going to the place of the ancestors. That's the promise. Go back to the land. Don't keep me here. Jacob said, swear to me that you will do this. So Joseph gave him his word. Then Israel bowed down at the head of his bed.